Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Charles from the channel Books on Stereo, and here for you guys a really special interview that I've been so waiting for, and that was with the author Kim Lorraine. Hi Kim, how are you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, how did you get into writing romance? You write in so many different genres. So like, were you always a romance reader? Did you just kind of say, hey, I want to write romance one day? What's a little bit of your story?
I've been a huge reader since I was very young. And then I never really let myself think I could be an author until I was in college and I was studying early childhood development. And I had to write a short story for my children's literacy class. And so I wrote this short story, and it was supposed to be a fairy tale. So I wrote this, and then I turned it in, and my professor emailed me and said, "Hey, have you ever considered writing? And I think that you could be published." And that was the jumping off point for me. And so after getting that email and really kind of taking it to heart, I sat down and I started writing my first book. And that took me about a year. And I started with women's fiction, romance.
Mhm.
And I've never really deviated out of romance. I write a lot of subgenres of romance, but
Mhm.
romance is it's what I love to read. I love a thriller and I love, a literary fiction sometimes, but I always go back to I want the love story to be there.
Mhm.
It's very
Mhm.
important to me. So it just makes
Mhm.
me happy and fills up my cup. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's kind of how it got started. It was really that one person saying, "Hey, you can do this." And I was like, "Can I?" Okay.
Oh, that's amazing, and it's so true. I can't even like peg you down to one specific genre because like you just kind of like go all over. Like I never know what I'm gonna get from you. I have my vampire series from you. I have my cowboys. You have like a menage series too. Like you have a witches series. I'm just like my mind is blown. I'm like, how do you keep all the genres straight? Because they all have like different rules a little bit when you're writing. Because I feel paranormal, you have to be more focused on the world building, a little bit of making sense and creating lore versus contemporary. It's like, how do you hold so many hats?
Something that I can't really bridge. I have to either be in a paranormal mindset or I have to be in a
Mhm.
contemporary mindset. So right now I'm super focused on my Cowboys because I'm really loving them. I think with the pandemic especially, everything has been so stressful for everyone, and I'm not, at all immune from that. So being home and being with all the like I have 3 kids and we're home and we don't go anywhere, and
Mhm.
I was like, I can't write dark and twisty right now. I can't write the
Mhm.
vampires right now. I need something that's just going to make me happy and swoony. And so my Cowboys really started talking to me a whole lot. But for me, it has to be those characters have to be telling me that they want their story. I can't
Mhm.
force it. I can't plan it to the point of this is all I'm going to write and nothing else is going to happen, because the moment I start to do that, Lucas Blackthorne starts telling me he needs another book, and I'm like, you asshole.
Okay, those blackthorns, it's completely okay. Like those blackthorns, I have some things to say about those heroes. I was I I just want to reach in the book and just like stop holding so many secrets. I'm like, goodness gracious. I was like, heroin. I was like, Kim, write another romantic lead right now. I was like, these Blackthorn vampires are like trying my patience. So I think that's a great segue and to talk about your Blackthorn vampire series. I'm going to stay away from spoilers. So if you haven't read the series in its entirety, don't worry, there will be no spoilers. But these books like took me on a journey. I had to like after that after I finished it, I was like, I need something light. I need something fluffy because like so many plot twists, so many reveals. Like, how did you even come up with like all these different plot twists, like characters coming back, this character betraying someone? I was I, like my mind is just I'm just in there going like, psh.
That I'm a super plotter, and but I'm not. It would be a big lie. Um, I like to be surprised while I'm writing, and how I was saying that the characters talk to me, they really do. I will plan something. For instance, writing Blood Captive. I didn't plan on it being 3 books. I planned on Blood Captive being like, okay, I'm going to write paranormal because I really want to scratch that itch. And I've been writing Firefighter for a while, so now I want to write paranormal. And I started writing it, and Cashel just sort of started doing his thing. And then suddenly there was a plot twist that he showed me. And I was like, okay, so we're doing this. Great. Thought I was going to do, but you've now told me that things are different. Yes, sir. So that's kind of how it goes. I do try to have a basic framework, like I'm kind of like, okay, but I know I want these few things to happen, but how we get there, it's really up to the characters for me.
That's like one of the things I loved about this trilogy. I feel like you find it more with romance trilogies. The second book tends to be like just I would say not even just trilogies in general. The second book tends to be like something you could just throw away. It's just to bridge the first and third book. I was like, the second book, I was like, the plot twists that happen, the characters that I was like, you legit had me thinking that you were going to switch out the main hero like at the end of the series. And I was like, I don't want the other hero to come back. I was like, I feel bad for Cashel.
That's one of my favorite things. Like I remember reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I was like, Tamlin's I hate him. He's the worst. I hate him. And then I was like, oh, maybe he's okay. And then suddenly Rhysand shows up, and I'm like, go away. Give me that guy. And that's kind of the feeling I had during Blood Captive and during the Blood Trilogy books, until I really realized what this story needed to be and what I needed to do with that other character who came in, and I was like, oh, this one needs more. And there were a couple ways it could have gone.
What you put that character through, I was like, he was just doing right by the heroine, and he has to do all of this. I was like, these next books better be about this character and his romance. But then he does the same thing Cashel does, all these secrets. I'm like,
I think that part of it with them, because you'll see with my Cowboys, they don't have secrets really. They're just, they're just good dudes. And the vampires, from the way they were raised with that terrible father of theirs, everything is steeped in secrecy. Everything is manipulation. Everything is like held over them. And I know people in real life in a contemporary world who have that same kind of thing, where they don't want anyone to know anything about anything. And I am like an open book. I will tell you pretty much anything if I am legally allowed to tell it to you. So weird to me, but it's fun to write those people because it's different from who I am.
And I just love that. Like, I did not know what to expect going into these books. I just read them and I was like, wait, this plot twist, and then like, what, this secret? I'm like, how is this character still here? I'm like, my mind was just like, I don't know how she's going to end this, but you end it so well. And then you set up the next couple books, and I was just like, I'm addicted. I'm addicted. Like, I just sat down and like binged the whole trilogy in one day. I was just that invested. I was like, I need to know what happens next. Do not talk to me until I finish this trilogy. And your audios for the series are fantastic. Like, are you involved a little bit in the audiobook creation? Because the audiobooks for the series are they just get better and better as the series went on.
So I have my own audiobook production company called Audibly Addicted Productions. So now I have produced almost all of my audios myself, with the exception of the 3 books, the first 3 in the Blood Trilogy. I did not produce those. I sold those to Tantor, but I was such a pain because I was like, these are the narrators that I want. I will not accept anybody but the narrators that I want on this list. So if you can get me people on this list, I will say, okay, if you can't, then no thanks, and I'll take it back and I'll do it myself. So I was really, really happy with Aaron Shedlock and Emma Wilder. They were so amazing as Cashel and Olivia. Those two, because I love duet narration. That is my favorite way to listen. And I knew I wouldn't get that by selling my rights to Tantor. But I knew with Aaron and Emma, I would be getting really amazing performances. And so it would be fine. But I'm one of those listeners who I don't really love hearing, a man try to do a female voice because it sounds
it takes you out of it.
Yeah. And not that they don't do a wonderful job. Aaron Shedlock's female voice is so great. Like, he does a wonderful, and Emma too, my goodness, like her Cashel voice was so sexy. And I was like, maybe you can do whatever you want. So, but I'm very picky about it. And, but I was very thrilled with the way they did that. And then to have Shane East take over for the last two, he's a dream, but let's just be honest.
Yeah. When I saw he narrated the last two, I was like, oh, these are going to be good. I'm like, these are going to be really, really good.
Really great as that character. If we're trying to stay spoiler free, I can't say who it is. But, yeah.
I just realized, I was like, when I was talking about it, I'm like, I can't say who the spin-off series is about because it spoils what happens to him in a little bit. I kind of am like, it's okay because I can read it in the blurb, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it's definitely one of those things that if you want to keep it completely spoiler free, yeah, you can't mention it. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed those, and I based the second. So those two books in the Blackthorn Bloodlines duet, I based the first one is a Romeo and Juliet, and then the second one is loosely based on Hamlet, and I kind of just combine the two into one duet. But that makes a lot of sense. Now that you say that, I'm like, I can see because you have like the whole vampires and lycanthropes. I was like, when we had a lycanthrope heroine, I was like, wait, we're not getting another human girl? I was like, okay. I was like, I like this. I was like, I like this character.
She wasn't a badass, and then she became a badass. And I love that story where you watch
I love the heroine. All your heroines are so incredibly badass, especially in this paranormal world, but even in your cowboy series, I was like, I love them. Like, your heroes are awesome too. And then switching lanes into your cowboy series, you actually, the third book, I believe, third or fourth book is actually an MM book, which I was not expecting. And I believe this is your first MM book. How was that experience writing that book compared to the other books?
That book is like, if I had a favorite child, it would be Sam Riker. I love him so much. And his story, I purposely kept him super vague throughout the series because I always was like, Sam is gay, and Sam is dealing with being gay in a family that it's not that they're not supportive of him. It's that there's a certain way that he's been raised to feel like he has to be, like he has to give his mama the grandbabies. He has to do what they expect and marry a woman and settle down. And he's like, that's not who I am, but I don't know how to talk about it. And in the bull riding world, it's not as common to be open unless you are part of the Gay Bull Riders Association, which is a different thing. And so it was complicated for him. And he had a lot of guilt about his relationship with his dad as his dad was dealing with his illness. So for Sam, for me to get to his book was really exciting because I loved writing them all. But when I was writing Tristan's book, which is the third one, Ridden Hard, I enjoyed it so much. I love the accidental pregnancy trope.
Me too.
The cinnamon roll, and I'm just like, oh, you just want to love her, and she's like, but I don't know.
I want to do my own thing. I love that couple.
interest in, but the whole time I was waiting to get to that chapter where I could write Sam and reveal to everyone that Sam was in love with Tucker and that he always had a past with Tucker, because it was this, I'm not going to have it be a big secret. It's not going to be a I'm discovering I'm gay situation, because I can't write someone's coming out story. I really can't. You know, I can write somebody who knows who they are and maybe hasn't acted on what they want yet. But that's not my place, is to write somebody who's coming out. Because I think there are so many LGBTQ authors who do that so well. Like there's, you know, so that's not my platform. But writing these two men who are in love and who are trying to work through their heartbreak in the past. I love them so much that I never want to stop thinking about their story, and I could continue it. I could write more about these guys.
Please do so. Write a whole series about them. I feel like everyone, like once I saw there was MM, I was like, I love when my normal like romance authors like delve into the LGBT side of things and like do stuff in there. I'm like it just like adds, like when Kay Webster did it, I was like, I love you now. I love you even more now. Like when you did it, I was like, you won me over. Like now all I need is like a female from you. Like you already won me over, but like if you do a female for me, I'm like, you're a GOAT. You're the greatest of all time.
I'll never say never. I feel like it's a really interesting thing, these different genres too. And I have always loved, well, I guess I wouldn't say always, because I hadn't been exposed to male romance until a few years ago, when I read Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy, which, Jacob Morgan and Teddy. They just really nailed it. And then from there I was like, I would like to read more male romance, please. Thank you. And I think part of it for me is this ability to just separate myself from the main characters in a different way, and I can just watch these two men fall in love and not at all feel those insecurities that me as a woman feels. Where if there's a heroine who's struggling with her body image, or insecurities like, why isn't he calling me? I feel all that in a different way than when I'm reading a male, where I'm like, I'm just in love with you and I want you just to be happy. Please go love him and kiss him and do other things with him. So yeah, but I do plan more male in each of my Cowboy series that I have planned. So that's definitely in the cards. I've already plotted out a little bit of the basic story of my Wild Horse Ranch male that we'll be getting as well.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna eagerly wait. Just let me know when I can start pre-ordering it. I will pre-order it in a heartbeat. Or if you do a surprise release, just let me know so I know it's out there. And so like coming back like a month later, I'm like, wait, she released another MM? I'm like, Kim, why didn't you tell me? I thought we were friends.
I do have another one, but it's a male female. And it is called Broken Sword, and it is my Excalibur duet. So it's paranormal. And it's an Arthurian legend retold. So that was my first, like, dipping my toe into a male relationship at all. So yeah. I liked it.
I saw that one. I was like, I needed to read that one. I was like, that one's catching. Like, I don't know why. Like, the more I read romance, the more I like want more taboo, like a little bit more pushing the envelope type thing. So like menages, and then I discovered Katie Roberts, and then like reading her books. I'm like, Katie. I'm like, what level are you up? Like, I don't know if you've read her Vampire Paranormal, but it has like it's a throuple that ends up with. I was like,
oh man, it's hot. I mean, and I think that I love a throuple. I like a reverse harem. I have a reverse harem Fae book coming out this summer. That's all recorded. The audio is recorded. It's a multicast that's coming out, and it's called All the Queen's Men. is what it's called. And it is, I previously had published it as like a serial, and then I pulled it like years ago, and I reworked it and had this big multicast. So it has Teddy Hamilton playing a vampire, Shane East, Jason Clarke with a British accent, which is just like melted honey. You just
just take my Audible credits already, Kim. Just take them all.
And Jacob Morgan's in there with his Irish accent, and it's a Fey world, and then we have also Kylie Stewart. She's in there playing a role, and Wesley Siobhan. I don't know if you've ever listened to Wesley Siobhan, but she has this really like husky, beautiful voice. So I'm very excited to put it out, but I've been holding on to it because I have all these Cowboys coming out. So I'm like, I can't release this. People are normal. All these Cowboys.
Yeah, it would be like a weird tone. I was like, I know Cowboys all going. If you popped up with Paranormal, I'm like, what? I was like, I'm still reading my mind is on Cowboys right now.
Like, would you write some vampire Cowboys? I'm like, no. No. It's not going to happen. No. Sorry.
Just like watch like the fans come together and write a fanfic where like all the Cowboys are actually vampires secretly.
Riker Ranch into a vampire ranch. I could see Tristan biting somebody. It would be fine.
I wonder, like, with all the brothers, did you already have like all the brothers laid out and you knew which books would come after the other, or did you? How much planning did you go into the series since they're all like interconnected standalones?
One, I was sort of like, I'd been writing all the vampires, and I was like, I just need to do something different. So I'm going to write a cowboy. I haven't written a contemporary in a while. I really want to write a cowboy because my daughter was doing riding lessons. She'd been begging to go learn how to ride a horse. And I am like a cowgirl at heart who isn't actually a cowgirl. Like, I would love to be a cowgirl, except I can't. And so I was taking her to her riding lessons at this little ranch that's like 5 minutes from our house. And they board horses. So she's doing her riding lessons, and I'm sitting there where the moms watch. And I hear these boots and spurs. And I'm just like,
Double take?
What? And I look, and here comes this cowboy. Hat, spurs, Wranglers, big old belt buckle, and he's just like swaggering his happy ass all the way down past me. I was like, what is happening right now? Because all the other like people were, women who take care of their horses or like old guys. And I have no problem with an old grizzled cowboy. You do you. But this was not an old grizzled cowboy. This was a Riker Ranch cowboy. And so that was the moment that I was like, oh, I'm going to write a cowboy. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a cowboy. And then I just started doing it while I was right there and sort of used that as my inspiration. So anytime I hear boots and spurs on the ground, I'm always like, oh, that's a very special noise. And like do all his rancher stuff in the arena while my daughter was doing her lessons. And I stopped watching her and just was watching him. So what's going on? She'll be fine. So
I love that. That's like the best inspiration story I've ever heard. It's just like I heard spurs and boots, and I was like, I saw the cowboy. I was like, that's my next series.
A ranch, or you go to a stable, and you hear boots and spurs, and you tell me it doesn't do something to you. You just come back to me, and you let me know, because I'm bet you. There'll be some tingling happening. And you will be like, oh, now I got to go back to Riker Ranch and read some more Cowboys.
I need more. Like, and one thing that I love about these books is that you promise a trope and you deliver on it so well. When you did the surprise pregnancy, I was like, I love this so much. I know it's not a popular trope for some romance readers, but like I love it, especially when the heroine's like, I'm not going to tell the hero that I'm pregnant, or I'm going to be very difficult. And Tristan's like, I just want to love you. She's like, sorry, you're going to have to take 10 steps back.
Like, I don't even know you. So and I think with that one, it's so funny because people love to say that they hate a surprise pregnancy book. That one was my best selling one. Like that was the
Really?
one that everyone was like buying and loving. And so whether it was because it was the third in the series and like people had had a chance to read the others, or whether it was actually that people really like a pregnancy trope, they just don't like to say it.
I love it.
I don't know. I love it so much. And I think for me, it's the whole like the man suddenly realizes his entire life is changing,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got to figure out his shit. And you're like, yes, you do. Also,
Mm-hmm.
On a horse. Well, and Tristan, because he's so much younger. Like he's the
Mm-hmm.
baby of the family aside from Sarah. Like, but out of the boys, he's the baby. And I just normally write older heroes and heroines, but I just felt like he had just so much love to give. And I just wanted to give him this story where he got to do it. And he got to prove that, no, I'm not just a man whore. I just want to love you. That's all I want.
I love how the heroine was like a little bit reluctant. She's like, what do you mean you take care of me? Like, what? We're not like the 1600s. Like, how dare you? And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And the mother's like, you go. And his mother's like, you get my grandbaby. You don't let her leave. I love the mother so much. You had my heart a little bit. I was like worried. I was like, Kim, you better not do this to me. You better not kill. You better not kill off the mother.
Messages from people who were like, oh my God, I'm not done yet. And I was like, keep reading. Don't worry. It's okay.
I like put the audiobook down. I was like, no, she's gonna do it. Like I feel like she's gonna do it. We're gonna get our hearts ripped out. I stopped after we've been with this amazing mother character for 2 books now.
Mama's a very special lady. I was just telling one of my friends. So I put on makeup and did my hair and stuff today because I promised you I'd have eyebrows on. And I was having dinner with my family, and my son is 13, and he goes, Mom, why did you put on makeup? Why do you care if you look good? You already have a husband. And I was just like, child, excuse me. I swear to God, my Mama Riker came right out. And I was like, let me just punch you in the face with my feminism real quick. And he was just, I do not need to look good for a man. I need to look good because I want to. And also because I respect the person who's interviewing me. And I want them to know that I care. And he was just like, yes, ma'am. It was my Mama Riker moment of the day. It was great.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because I love that character so much. Like she's like immediately like I was like I want to marry into this family just so I can have her as a mother. Like I need to find a way so like that mother becomes my mother to like mother school. So I have like 2 mothers. That she is so awesome, so loving.
And you'll get to see her in Wild Ride, which is the next book coming out, which is the first in my Wild Horse Ranch series, but it's Sarah Riker's story, so it continues. Sarah.
Continue.
So
do you have more books after Sarah's book in the world?
What I'm doing right now is I really want to just keep my Sunrise, Montana world going. So I just finished the second book in the Wild Horse Ranch series. So that one I'm cleaning it up now and going to send it to my editor. And then that will be recorded in the beginning of June. And then Wild, I brought them here so you can see them. Okay. So this is, where's my camera? That's Wild Ride. So this is set in Wild. And he and Sarah, well, you can't see it, but he and Sarah get married in Vegas. That's their whole thing. But there's a free prequel. So I'll show you this. So you can go grab it on Amazon. It's free.
I'm going to go grab it right now.
Cool story. So you get to see how they get married or how they fall in love. So, but what it is it's like the prequel that bridges the 2 series. So because Mama Riker, before she met Daddy Riker, she was engaged to Wes Wilde. And so this prequel is their story. So you get to see why there's a feud between the Rikers and the Wildes. And so then when Sarah ends up marrying a Wilde, there's some problems. There's some stuff that has, So.
Oh, that's so good. Oh man, I was wondering, like, how are you gonna continue? Because you're gonna run out of siblings after Sarah. Like, is she gonna do like cousins or like aunts or like uncles somewhere like spread out in the family?
My Rikers, they are fruitful and they multiply. You know, and then also there's Travis Riker. He has a book called Ignite that was part of the Everyday Heroes world, and so that I did for Kay Bromberg's Everyday Heroes world. So that's out. The audio is about to come out, and that's Jason Clarke as sexy cowboy, and it's an age gap romance.
Oh, so I love age gaps.
He's 36, I think. Wait, yes. And he's a firefighter cowboy, and he moves over to oh my gosh, just the name of the state has left me. California. He moves to California after getting divorced. Falls for her, but then he finds out that she is his fire chief's daughter. So it's a whole thing. There might be a little bit of daddy kink in there, and
okay.
It's fun.
I need to listen to this book like as soon as the audio drops. I'm gonna run and buy it. Like, you just got like just everything you described of the book. I was like, you're hitting all my check marks for what I look in romances. I'm like, how do you know what I want in terms of romances? I'm like, every time I look at your books, I'm like, how does she have like a couple like now you have a reverse harem coming out? I was like, how do you know like what I want to read next before I even know?
Because I just write what I want. Like I write what I want to read, and you know, as a voracious romance reader and listener, that's just how I do it. So, but I really enjoy my cowboys. I really enjoy my vampires. I wish that I could like split my brain into and then just write both of them at the same time. However, that is impossible. So I have to kind of plan it out. I do plan to continue Blackthorns with Sorka and give her a story, but they have to be talking to me, and she's being very stubborn. Surprise, Sorka. Yeah,
I'm not surprised. What all the Blackthorn vampires are like super stubborn, secretive, have a huge like daddy issues, just like family issues in general. Like, they're not the best family to marry into. Like, if you choose between them and the Rikers, I would go with the Rikers. Blackthorns, who probably will end up dead at some point by accident.
Yeah, kill you. Luckily, hopefully, you'll be a vampire by that point, so you'll be okay. But yeah, you never know with that. And I love vampire books. I've listened to all of Cressley Cole's Immortals After Dark series. I love the Anita Blake series by Laurel K. Hamilton. You know, like all, and I mean, I guess those aren't technically romance, but kind of, yes. Also,
kind of, yeah.
No, I've always loved paranormal, but I also find that I cannot write paranormal if I'm listening to paranormal. I have to be listening to and vice versa. So right now, as I'm writing the next book in my newest series that has not been announced yet, I'm listening to You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes, because it's a thriller. Have you read the You books? Did you read You?
I watched the TV show. I'm bad. I haven't read the book yet.
Of audiobooks, right? Tino Fontana is amazing in these books. So he does the whole thing. He's just so good. You need to listen to you and then report back.
I will. I will. I was like, everyone's telling me to read the book, and I was like, oh, the Netflix show popped on. One click, and I'm like, what is this amazing show? It's such a interesting take on a thriller. Like, follow, like you don't want to like Joe, but like you do.
You're like, what's wrong with me? what is happening? But the thing about the book is that it's written totally in his head the whole time. And so you don't really realize just how batshit he is because you're right there with him, and he's your narrator, so he's telling you that clearly she wants him. And I'm like, yeah, she wants him, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And and then you sit there and you're like, no, you're stalking her. So it's really great writing. It's a great story. I got to meet her at Book Bonanza, and I just like fangirled all over her, like an idiot. So it was great. Shining moment.
That's amazing. I will definitely bump that up on my TBR. Like I've been eyeing it. I feel like I own the ebook on my Kindle, and it's like buried somewhere. Like my Kindle is a scary place. I don't like going in there. I just go like, I bought this book. Like, when did I buy this book? I bought this book like 10 years ago. I was like, oh, that must have been like a sale price deal that I just had like one click.
I'm sure that there are lots of people who have my books that have never read them, and I'm still very thankful for them. Thank you very much.
Kindle just like feeds that like the buy with one click. It's just so satisfying. So I don't think that I'm losing any money. It's just like I just received something magical on my e-reader.
It doesn't even. Who knows? It's just magically there, and also my bank account is $2.99. Shorter. It's fine.
I would say like audiobooks, I'm much better at listening as soon as I get an audiobook because I know I'm interested in getting that book, like versus like an ebook. It just kind of sits in the ether until I'm like, oh wait, I have this whole series by this author. When did I buy this whole series? It's like I just go in, I'm like, I surprise myself like, when did I buy this? Like this is not even something I normally read.
Whispersync deal. And then you go and you get the whole series because you Whispersync it. I have a lot that I haven't listened to because people have been like, you need to get this. And I'm like, okay, I'll get it. And then I haven't gotten to it yet. But I'm more careful now because I have to be, because I don't have time as much to listen because I'm producing audio for people. So when I listen now, I'm listening to their books because I am proofing them and making sure that there aren't mistakes because narrators are humans. So that happens sometimes. And then people listen who then tell those narrators, oh, you said birds instead of, bowls. Like, oh, okay, let's fix that. And it's amazing what your brain will accidentally say. And you don't even realize it's happened. So, yeah. But, God, there's so many great audios out there. I love a good audiobook.
But your audios are so good. Like, you're like the same old like Lauren Blakely, her audiobooks, like just like really good, well produced audiobooks. And I'm like just like the duet narration, multicast. I was like, romance needs to do more of this. Like, I love my single narration, but like just something about a duet narration, it just works so much better. Like it's almost like you're sitting between two people, like hearing them talk to each other when they're doing the banter scenes instead of like clearly like the male narrator doing a female voice. So I love that. Especially I noticed in your newest books, I was like, she did duet. I was like, yes.
Or duet. Like my older stuff too is duet. The only ones that aren't are kind of like my very first things that are actually, even now they're in the process of being unpublished because I'm getting my rights back on them. But don't worry, I'm gonna like rework them and put it back out. But it's but they were written in third person, and for me, my writing styles changed so much. So I would like to change them up. And for me, I think one of the first books I listened to that was duet was Stoned by Mandy Beck. And it is a rock star romance. If you haven't listened to it, Kai Kennecott and Wen Ross narrated it. And I loved it. I fell in love with this duet style. And so then from there on, all my books were duet. And then with the exception of the ones that I sold, because that was just how it was, except for Saddle Up. Saddle Up is not duet. But because I narrate Stella Hunter. So that's me. And that was my very first audiobook that I did.
That's you?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I just assumed like it was like a pen name of like another narrator. Like I know like Savannah Peachwood's like YA pen name. So it's like I was just thinking it was like a pen name of like Aaron Mallon or something.
Narrator, my pseudonym. Yeah. So I do that, and for me it's really fun to do mine, but also I do other people's books. And with Saddle Up, it was my very first book that I narrated ever. And so Aaron Shedlock and I talked about it, and we were like, it's your first one. Let's do dual narration there. But it was good because I got to practice my guy voice, and I got to say darling all the time. So that was cool. Because now
I didn't even know that. Like, so we just got breaking news, you guys. We all know. So if you see that narrator's name, you know who it is now.
I was getting so much. Like, get out.
So how was that experience, like actually narrating your own work for the first time? Was it different? Did it change how you were writing the book because you were thinking more like you were going to be the one performing the female's POV?
Write with audio in mind, because it's important for me as a listener, and I want my books to be really accessible. So one of the things that I try to do is avoid excessive dialogue, tags, and things that can take you out of the story. Sometimes you just can't avoid it, and you just have to, do it. But I think at first I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to say things, real sexy things. I'm gonna have to say, and like I can't not put sexy things in these books. People expect me to write the steamy books with
I would riot if you did a closed door. I'd be like, I can't believe you did that to me, Kim.
Times, and then I'm like, and also then they go do this. We don't always have to have the sex if we've already had the sex. But I, at first, I think this happens to every narrator. When you are doing a sex scene at first, you're kind of like, they have to make the noises. I have to grow and sigh and like breathe heavily. But now it's to the point where it's just like, this is part of it, and it's really important to be really involved in the scene. And so when I was first starting, before I really got going, I was really lucky that Shane East coached me. And so he and I worked together quite a few times. And I said to him, I really would like to work on sex scenes because it's important that it's done right. And I trust him very, very much. And I'm very comfortable with him because we have a very good working relationship. And so we worked on it. And I did this book that I was doing for someone else, and we worked on the sex scene like 4 times to get it to the point where I felt like I was really comfortable with it, and I was really engaged in it. And something that he said really stuck with me was that when you do something like this, where it's easy to go too far, you just have to remember that like a sexual encounter, especially in a romance novel, is usually met with high emotion. Like there's urgency in your there has to be urgency in your voice, but there's also like wonder and awe, and it's not all lust. There's a lot happening in there, and it was so helpful because I was just like, you're right. And so then when I write the books, I also think about that. Like, how are those lines going to have some wonder in them? You know, how is Tristan Riker going to be, you know, taking Hazel to Pound Town, but also marveling in the fact that he's got this beautiful woman in his arms? It really helped a lot. So then when I write, I think about that. And then when I, you know, when I narrate, I also try to find those things in those scenes, because otherwise they can become, either they feel robotic, or they feel too much, or they just feel just right. So yeah.
That's interesting that you say that, because I feel like a lot of people, some of their hesitation for like getting into romance audiobooks is sometimes they don't think the sex works. Like, if they may find it awkward, but I feel like once you get, especially if you give them like good audiobooks that do it well, you're like, whew, that was really steamy. I was like, and like your books, I was like, whew, especially the spinoff. I was like, oh my goodness, like these books like are a whole nother level, and then you have like Shanice narrating them. I was like, I needed a warning before before we got to some of those scenes.
There he is. Yeah, I think I understand people being hesitant about listening to romance audio, because it is a different experience. It's very intimate, an audiobook. You know, you have this person in your ears, as close to your brain as they could probably be, and you bring them into, you know, your experience very, very closely. And I feel like when you're having a really intense sexual scene, it does feel like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be listening to this. I shouldn't be, you know, whereas when you're reading it, you can disassociate it if you need to. As a reader, as a listener, you're like, oh, that's what he sounds like, you know, so it changes things. And I think it has to really be done well. And we're really lucky in romance audio because we have so many wonderful narrators who do it so, so well. And they are very careful with it, and they're respectful with it. And I really appreciate that, because we already, as romance authors and romance readers, you know, we're treated like we should be ashamed of what we do or what we love, which I think that's a whole other, I could just go on and on. But
yeah, that's a whole other video. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, but I think we're very, very lucky to have these narrators that we do have. Like, who are some of your favorite narrators?
I would say Andy Arndt, favorite female, and then I would say favorite male is Teddy Hamilton. So anytime I see like Teddy Hamilton's name, especially because he does a lot of MM, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be good. Let's pre-order that one right now. And Andy Arndt, like, she can do no wrong. Like, I love like so many. There's so many narrators I'm like auto buys, even if I know nothing about the author.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are narrator motivated, you know, and it's which is a great thing, because then you try all these new things. You try these authors you might never have tried before, which I love.
Yeah, I love some of like I found some really amazing authors by just searching by narrators that I knew. I was like, oh wait, I never read this person's book, but like I'm addicted. Like the narrations, because I don't even listen to samples when I know the narrator's good. I was just like blindly one click, because I know it. Like even if I don't like the story, I like the performances. Because I think, especially your audiobooks, I haven't had the experience where I had an audiobook where I absolutely hated the narrator. I That's like the worst experience, when like I actually like the book, but the narrator's just like killing my love for it. So I'm like I can't, like I just want to. It's a bad time when I want to go buy the book, and just like I'm just gonna read it, because like this is just like that's one thing I love about how, yeah.
Sorry, I
So
didn't
one
mean
of
to
the
interrupt.
questions. Oh no, it was fine. So why did you decide to just start your own audiobook production company? I feel like more romance authors are starting to do that a little bit more. You're starting to see these production companies that are focused on that. So I was wondering what kind of led you to start your own production company?
For us was my friend, and I like to call her my platonic life partner, Mo. She is my co-host on the Audibly Addicted podcast. And so we started the podcast when we were interviewing authors and narrators and building these great relationships with narrators specifically. And then we would do our interviews, and we did that for about a year. And it's still going, but we had to pare it back because we're too busy producing books. And as we were going, one of my friends named Nicole French, she's also a romance author, she was talking to me about producing audio, and I'm very passionate about it, and I think people should put their books in audio because, in addition to people who enjoy audiobooks in general, there are people who are without sight who need audiobooks, and there are people who are who have maybe a learning disability where they really struggle to read words on a page and they are more auditory. So I always talk about that with people about how, yes, it's an investment. It's expensive to produce your own audiobooks, but it's also bringing it to a completely different audience because most listeners at this point pretty much exclusively listen. And so I've already done, I've done all my own, like I said, from the very beginning. And so then my friend Nicole was like, I'll pay you to produce my audiobooks. You need to produce my audiobooks for me. And so we started. And from there, I was like, let's do it. Let's really do it. Because we've got these great relationships with people. We know how it works. We know how to proof. We know how to do all those things. And so then we built it. And it took off in like that. I mean, it was just, we were full. It was amazing. We're so lucky to have people trust us with their books. Because I mean, your book, it's your book baby. Like you really love it. And but the process for producing your book can seem very daunting to people, and it really depends on how you're wired. For me, it's not hard. For me, it's something that I like to do because I have that achiever personality. So I like to have my tasks and I like to get the shit done, and I like to, and then I feel like, yay, I did things today. But not everybody is that person. And so that's kind of what we're here for, is we're there to help people get it done so that they still own all their rights and they still have a fantastic audiobook and they still get all their royalties, so
it's amazing.
Yeah, I really love doing it. And, some companies buy people's rights and they publish the book. That's not what we do, because I'm not really in that frame of mind. I'm just in the frame of mind of I would really like to cast your audiobooks for you and help you find the right narrators, and also cast with representation in mind, and cast with, just these things that maybe you don't think about. That's important. You need to have that person that's kind of telling you, hey, your hero's a Black man. I have this list of wonderful Black narrators that you should listen to. It's important. So, and these are just.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Just hearing you talk about. And so I'm very curious because I feel like a lot of us as readers don't fully understand the process of for an author that wants the audiobook done, because a lot of times we see in romance, they drop the ebook and then maybe 6 months or sometimes even longer, then the audio pops up, and it's super hard getting an answer at the author. We're like, where's the audio? We're waiting for it. So how does that process work for an author?
I can tell you my personal experience as an author. It's different for everybody, but my books, unless I was producing them myself, my books weren't guaranteed to go into audio. It's all based on sales and rank and track record with a publisher, an audiobook publisher. With the Blackthorns, they'd been out a long time before they got audio, before a publisher bought them. And they bought them because they started doing really well. And so then they were like, okay, well, we're going to invest in this. So we're going to buy it and we'll make these audiobooks. There are a lot of authors who are now starting to have release plans that include producing their audio on their own. And they just know that they're going to spend the money to do it. It is expensive. It's not something that comes without a cost. You're hiring, usually they're like SAG-AFTRA union actors, like these are people who have a really strong acting background, who maybe also do film and TV. There's a lot that is behind that. So it's an investment that a lot of authors are like, I don't want to take that risk yet. And so it really is a personal choice. But for me now, if I want to have my audiobook done and I want to make sure that it's going to release with my ebook, I have to have my book done way in advance. Like, for instance, Wild Ride is coming out in May. It has been done fully, completely done since February.
Oh, wow.
And the audiobook was recorded at the end of March. And the audiobook is done and it is coming out at the same time as the ebook. But that's a really long lead time. That is, for a lot of indie authors, we don't really function on that timeline. A lot of us are like finishing that book up to the wire before it comes out. So there's no time to get it recorded to make sure that you're going to have a simultaneous release. So that's why you see those delays for sure. But it's also that matter of like hiring or selling your rights. Like, are you going to pay for it up front, or are you going to sell your rights to somebody? And it depends on, the author. There's really not a wrong way to do it, but I like to keep all my money if I can.
Hey, I understand. Like, I've been hearing some things about Audible and how they pay authors and for their royalties and like versus all of that. Like, I know it's a whole other discussion, but like, so I was very curious, like, just like the whole process in general, because I'm pretty much like, I would say exclusively an audiobook listener, but just like being on BookTube in that space, there's just some authors that people are like, you have to read this book, but it has no audio. I'm like,
it's hard. And the other thing is like telling them like, we do want your books and audio, and sharing that with them, people knowing that you're excited about the audio. Because there are authors, plenty of them, who don't like audio. They don't listen to audio. They don't like to hear their own books. That's really common. I don't mind, especially when the narration is good and I can really get into it. I listened to Teddy and Aaron on Rope Tight. They all run together and I forget their titles. I just call them by their names.
That's why I had to keep a list when I was reviewing them, because I will forget these titles so quickly. Like, I know the stories. Like, I can give you the trope that's involved, but I was like, I would tell you like the third book when I'm actually talking about the first book, and I mix up the titles.
So you're not the only one. Well, I made it. So, but I love that book so much. I love the audio. I've listened to it 3 times because I enjoyed it, and I was just like, gosh, Sam and Tucker were so brought to life by Aaron Shedlock and Teddy Hamilton. And I knew I wanted them before I even wrote it. And so I was writing it with, Teddy's voice in my head and Aaron's voice. Aaron was all of those guys, so of course he's going to do it, but like on Ignite, when it's Travis Riker, that's the age gap one, Buck Riker is in it. So Aaron does those voices for that book. And, Jason Clark does everybody else, but Aaron Shedlock does Buck Riker. And because for me, like, I need that continuity if I can get it. It's not always possible.
I would probably be the one to notice that. I'm like, wait, that was off. Something's wrong here.
Man in my ear. Yeah, I was proofing it, and I had forgotten that because I was just enjoying it, I was proofing it, and then I was like, oh, hi, hey, Buck, there he is, it's great, so it worked. But
yeah, that's really cool. And then like, Interesting segue since you are a big audiobook person, so I'll change the question a little bit around. So, what are your favorite romance audiobooks? Or you can go like authors who like are very big in audio.
Okay, hold on. Okay. My very favorite romance audiobook and one of my favorite books is On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. It's narrated by Paula Costello, and she's amazing. And she does this wonderful Scottish accent for the hero. She does a great guy voice, and she just carries it so well. So I don't know. Have you ever listened to that book?
No. So people have been telling me to read that for like ages. And I'm just like, I'll get to it. I read her Paranormal, her War of Hearts. I read the first two books in that series, but I haven't read the On Dublin, which is like I know it's her most popular.
And it is, I mean, I just love her books. I feel very connected to those characters. So that one probably, it just really sticks out for me as like a really special book. And then this is so cliche because everybody says it, but like Outlander, the audiobook Outlander, Davina Porter is a goddess. Like,
she is. She's amazing.
Everything she does, as she's narrating this book, and you're just like, there were 72,000 characters in this book, and I can hear each one of them. It's amazing. And that's how I got through it, was listening to it, because it's a big old book.
They're chunkers.
A lot of world building, a lot of history, and my attention drifts. So I need something that's going to get me engaged. So it's so funny because I'm such a fan of duet narration, and here I am like single narrator. But I also really loved Tears of Tess by Pepper Winters, which is really dark, super dark, but that's duet narration. And that's Jacob Morgan doing a French accent, which, oh man, sign me up. Like, he doesn't get to do enough accent work. He is underused when it comes to accents. He can do all.
Yeah, I really don't. I can't remember too many Jacob Morgan books where he had an accent.
Me, but like, not enough people do it. Because he did one of my paranormals called Cursed Heart, and he was a fallen angel, and he had a Northern English accent. And I was basically like, I want you to be Richard Armitage in North and South. That's what I want. Northern, just him, broody McBroodface, fallen angel from the North. And he was great. It was great.
Oh, I haven't read any of your recommendations, but now I will. I have you. That's the first one I need to get to, and then I'll get to other ones. I'll probably be like done in a week. I get through audiobooks like super fast.
Yeah. Listen, like while you're doing other things.
So like taking the dog out for a walk. Like if I'm like really into my audiobook, I'm like, okay, we're gonna walk for 30 more minutes. Even though you're tired, we're still gonna continue walking because I want to finish. I have to finish a chapter. I can't stop mid-chapter. That bothers me so much.
I'm like, this is a 30-minute chapter. What? No, 10 pages. That's it.
I get so mad when some chapters in some books are like 40, 50 minutes. I'm like, oh, God dang it.
That's how all my laundry gets folded, is like doing audiobooks or dishes get done. But I dictate a lot as I'm writing. So when I'm in the middle of a book, I'll be dictating when I'm doing chores. So then I don't get to listen as much because I got to get my words.
So, get your words in. And what is your preferred listening speed for audiobooks?
Don't you dare tell me you listen above 1.0. I'm going to fire you.
Okay, then I won't reveal my listening speed. You'll probably like leave the interview.
That's ridiculous. What do you listen at? Oh, if it's 3, I'm gonna hurry up.
I've gotten to a point where I can go to 3.5. I'm like 3 to 3.5.
I
Like
thought
that's
it.
like I remember once I like emailed an audiobook company. I was like, why isn't 3.5 available? I'm like, get it together. I actually got angry.
They're crying.
I know it's like the worst thing to tell like a narrator. They're just like, what speed do you listen to me at? I'm like, yeah, I'm like a 9. I'm like a 3.5.
You sound like a chipmunk. I don't actually know what you said, but I got through it. It was great. I did a whole TikTok rant about this. Because somebody was talking about, like, it was some guy from like New Zealand, I think, and he was like, "What's your listening speed?" And then he was talking about his is like 2.0, and so I stitched it and was like, "Let me tell you why it's 1.0." And all the narrators.
Like I get it. Like now, like I get the performance aspect. Like I do. Like for some books, I will slow it down because I'm enjoying it. But if it's like a torture, I'm like 3.5. Like it's just like if the narrator's bad. But like normally, I fluctuate with it.
Probably narrate pretty fast because I talk pretty fast usually, and my style is very conversational. Versus, I've listened. There was another book that I won't name that I listened to. I love the book. I love the whole series, but the male narrator on it was very slow. Like I was just like, oh, I need it to go a little bit more
Faster.
a little nudge. And then I was like, oh, 1.5 speed is perfect. And I did it. It was perfect because then he was matching the speed of the female narrator. And so then it felt normal to me. But oh, yeah, I don't ever speed them up unless it's absolutely necessary because I want to hear every nuance to the performance. I want to hear all that emotion.
I'm bad. Like that's why like whenever I recommend people, I'm like, do not listen at the speed I listen to. Like that's like me. That's like listening after like dozens and dozens of audiobooks. And like I just gradually like went up there, but I know I do slow it down in the beginning because I have made that mistake. I had gotten halfway through a book and I could not tell you one single thing that happened. I was like, I was like, I need to actually go back and like reread the book because like I did not know like anything that happened. I know a character said this, and then like all of a sudden I was like 50% done with the book. I was like, I was like,
I better
my
slow
3.5
down.
is not working for me.
And I think, there are also narrators who know that this happens. And I think there's like this sort of challenge of vary your speed as you perform to stop it. And I do that. I think like certain scenes are much more energetic and I go faster and then I slow it down and then I go faster and I slow it down. And it's very funny because I'm always like, who speeds me up? Who does it? It's you.
I'm sorry, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I am so guilty. Like I like sometimes I do recognize the pitfalls of it. But it's like I know if I go too slow, I will like doze off and like my mind will wander. I'm like weird like that. I have like a very short attention span, so like at three times I'm like, okay, I have to pay attention. I was like, or I'll miss a whole section.
Just don't say that the narrator spoke too fast because if you do, I'm going to call you out. I'm be like, what speed were you at, Charles? Instead of the Scarlet Letter, I'm going to make you like a Scarlet 3.5 and send it your way. And you can wear it.
It's like everyone thinks I'm like psychotic for listening that fast. I only found like one other person that agrees with me. Everyone else is like, don't they sound like chipmunks? I'm like, They do, but I can understand they're chipmunks slightly.
So funny. So do people who have higher voices sound too high for you though when it's that fast?
Sometimes, yeah. Or I notice if it's for male voices, if they're very low and like grizzly, like I cannot understand like if they're very low voice or like they're intentionally making the voice lower than normal. It does not work on 3.5. It sounds like just and then I have to bring it back down.
No, I was thinking about how low his voice is and how that probably just becomes this like rumble. That's all you hear is just and you're like, oh, the hero's talking. I don't know what he's saying, but he's talking.
Yeah, it's like
Rating. Aiden's talking again. That's it.
I feel so called out for my listening speed, and I knew this was coming. I knew one day an author was going to be like, yeah. I knew you reevaluated
it. It's okay. I still love you.
I would just like put a review out of like of your newest release and be like, Kim, this is specifically for you. I listened to this on 3.5 just for you.
And be like, and he still liked it.
I'll do a gag where I listen to 3.5, fake and give it a 1 star, and then like psych, you thought that was an actual rating. It was actually 5 out of 5.
I guess I would deserve it for calling you out so hard. Twitter drama that we didn't want, and then all of a sudden Romancelandia would be very upset about the whole thing. One of us
and then
would be shunned.
We get canceled for like a couple of weeks, and then everything will go back to normal.
Collaborate together and make something beautiful. Done. We're good. It's fine.
And now for a completely different question, but I think this is a fun question to close this out on. Like, what have been some of the top favorite movies or TV shows, if you have watched anything during this past year? If you haven't, that's completely fine.
Okay, I have a couple. For like lighthearted, feel good, Schitt's Creek. My husband and I binged Schitt's Creek, and that damn show made me cry more times than I expected. David is just one of the most amazing characters, and I love it. And I love the whole feel of that town and the people and everything in it. So that show, definitely, like I could rewatch the whole thing right now. And then Castlevania.
That's so good.
Love Castlevania so much. And I mean, I love the vampires. So that was there for me. Usually vampire shows disappoint me. But Castlevania was just like, the only thing they don't give me that I really, really want is an Alucard and Trevor and what's her name? Sypha? Sandwich.
I think so.
I just really want a sandwich, and I'm not getting that sandwich, and it makes me really sad. So like,
it's definitely leaning. Like I feel the chemistry between the three. I was like, this could totally happen. I was like, let a romance writer write the show now.
the swords crossed. Fine. But yeah, so those are the two shows that really like got me and sucked me in. And then I watched this movie that is super beautiful, and it's really sad. So just prepare yourself that it is sad. And it's called Supernova, and it is Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth, and they play a married couple. And Stanley Tucci's character is dealing with like really aggressive early onset Alzheimer's. Oh, no. And it's this beautiful story between them that I just thought it was so well done and so lovely. It's one of those that you just kind of don't stop thinking about, you know?
Yeah.
So, yep. So that's it. It's not a feel good movie, but it is very beautiful.
Oh, okay. Great picks. Have you watched Blood of Zeus on Netflix?
I have seen it, and like I've seen and heard about it, but I haven't watched it. Am I gonna love it?
You're going to love it. It's so good.
Okay.
If you like Hera, oh wow. You have to watch it. You have to watch it and let me know what you think about it. I think it's about the same length as Castlevania, the first season. It's not long,
Okay.
but I would say it's more brutal. There's a lot of people dying. It's really good.
That sounds like it's right up my alley. So I'm gonna
I
put it
was
on my
shocked. I think then I went and watched Castlevania after I watched Blood of Zeus. Cause like I didn't know I would be a fan of anime, but like it works. I thought it was like, that probably wouldn't be for me, but I just like you will binge Blood of Zeus like in a day. I could not stop watching it. It's that good.
have to like budget a day where it's just like I'm gonna watch Blood of Zeus and I'm not gonna do anything else day.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I don't get in trouble for not meeting deadlines. And then I'll blame you and I'll just say it was Charles's fault.
Wow. But then I will be kind of like doing myself a disservice because then I would have like no more new books from you to read. I'm like, hey Kim, like what's going on? You haven't released anything in about a year and a half. I was like, what are you doing?
3.5 speed. This is what you do to me.
I mean, like I finished like your 5 newest releases in 2 days. When's the next book coming out?
Yeah. It's funny to get those messages because I'm like, I'm writing as fast as I can. And I get messages from people who have books that they want me to write that I don't have in my brain yet, that I'm like, it's not ready. I have this long running character named Gabriel. Well, he's the Archangel Gabriel. And he has been in all of my paranormals, even my other ones, not the black ones. So Gabriel's present in everything. And he's going to get a book, but I'm just like, I gotta be in that spot where I can write his book.
Yeah. Hey, as long as it's coming, I'm fine. You can distract me with other books. I'm very easygoing. You just go like, here's a cowboy romance. Here's a paranormal cowboy romance. Okay, then here's Gabriel. I'll be like, I'm fine. Like that wait wasn't that long.
Things to love and enjoy.
But thank you so much, Kim, for coming on my channel. It's been such a great time talking with you, getting to like all like the audiobook facts, getting to know a little bit more about the story behind your books. And yeah, it was just overall a really, really fun conversation. And for you guys watching the video, I'll link all her information down below in the description box so you can go stalk her on all of our social media so you always know what's coming out, what's new, and what's all the new releases and what's new for our audiobooks. Because remember, we are audiobook only channel, and Kim Lorraine is extremely audiobook friendly, which I absolutely love. But so go and check out her books. I highly recommend the Blackthorn series if you haven't started any of her books. I love that series to death. And then once you have read it, we can talk spoilers down in the comment section down below. But thank you again so much, Kim, for coming on my channel, and I'll catch you guys with a brand new video. Bye, everyone.